Did you hear anything about what was going on with Jason Williams?
No.
White chocolate. Who that's a name I have not heard in a good minute.
This is blasphemous here, but go ahead.
But he was on a Player's Choice podcast, and they were doing one of their rankings conversations of who's the best and all this stuff, and who's the top 10 players all time and all that. And Kobe was not in his top 10, and in such Kobe, he didn't even have Kobe in his top 5 all time Lakers. And here's white chocolate.
I haven't really thought about where I got Kobe, but Kobe's not as high on my list as people really think he should be. Like, I'm not even sure he's on the top 5 of the all-time greatest Lakers, bro.
He had Wilt, Kareem, Magic, Shaq, and LeBron, all ahead of Kobe Bryant. All-time Lakers.
Go ahead, Mr. Laker, before I unload on him.
Yeah, because I know B's not happy. So
I can see.
You played with almost everybody on that list, by the way.
I can see where he's coming from because think about it. Wilt, 100 points. Kareem, all-time scoring leader. Magic. Shaq, most dominant player. LeBron, considered one of the all-time great. I can see where he can make this argument, but when you come time all-time like LeBron doesn't make that list.
No.
And it's nothing against LeBron. He just hadn't had the years there like those other guys have had.
So there's only 4 on that list then. That means there's one more spot.
Yeah, so I'm like, Kobe goes on that list. Kobe, to me is Kareem, Kobe, Magic, Wilt, then Shaq for me on that list. Because Kareem is first. And we don't give Kareem enough credit for what he did in the league, period. Right. He was a beast, skyhook, most points ever scored. That's without shooting threes, played until he was, 80 years old.
Practically, yes.
I know. So Kareem should be first. And then, I think Kobe, then Magic. And because Kobe, 20 years plus, almost 20 years?
20 years.
Using your argument prior to, spent his whole career with the team.
Yeah. So there's no way, he even goes in front of Shaq, because Shaq wasn't there as long as Kobe. Just for his tenure alone, he moves in front of all those guys.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I think the biggest test of Kobe's career was after Shaq left. Mm-hmm. Because without Shaq, it was, can Kobe do it? And man, could he do it? He carried the team for 10 years on his back. So, very hard for me to side in any way with Jason.
But what do you think? And now that we put I think not having him as a top 5 Laker all time is super blasphemous. But him not having Kobe in his top, I know everybody has their own opinion and whatnot, but him not having Kobe in his top 10 all time, what are your thoughts on that?
I didn't see his top 10.
I don't even know what it was.
Yeah, like if I ever do a top 10, I automatically say I'm taking MJ out because he shouldn't even count. He's over there sitting on Mount Rushmore, Mount Olympus, saying, I don't want to be in y'all list. I know I'm being everybody's list. So, but there's no way Kobe don't make top 10 lists. But everybody has their opinions. For me, let's say if I didn't like Robert Horry, I'm like, fuck Robert Horry. I ain't putting him on the list because he elbowed me in a game one time. He crossed me over in the game, and I put somebody else in his place. So I can see him why he's doing that, because he used to bust his ass. That's why.
That's what I was about to ask. It's a little bit of it, a little bit of. I mean, it's one thing, but it's one thing for you to be salty, but at some point in time, you got to be objective. You got to give somebody their props.
You don't have to be.
I mean, you don't have to be, but I mean, if you have an ounce of sense and you want anybody to take your opinion seriously,
yes,
there has to be some level of objectivity instead of just saying, oh, not only is he not a top 10 player, he's not even a top 5. Like on one end, you've already been blasphemous. Now you're super blasphemous. Like there's nobody that doesn't think Kobe is a top 5 Laker. And I don't know too many people who doesn't think Kobe is a top 10 player.
Yeah. But his thing though, Kobe didn't make the top 10 NBA list either, did he? When they did that list?
Right.
That's a good question. I don't know.
He didn't make the top 10 list for the NBA either.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I can see where so I'm not even mad at White Chocolate for his list because we all have our favorites, some days, Isaiah's on my top 10 list and some days he's not,
But what puts him in and out of that then? What do you mean some days he is?
If I've been drinking?